Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And today's video, I'm going to do our vlog, and so we're going to talk about our D&D campaign. We're going to talk about the recent events with some of the AAA game studios. We're going to talk about the current situation with what I'm calling oversaturation of the nerd market, and a couple other things. So let's start off with our D&D campaign. And I know you guys have all been following along, so we'll just get you up to speed here. Where we last left off, we were talking about how our party had gone to investigate this group of hippies, for lack of a better term, that were out in the woods doing some weird stuff with weird music, and we thought that it might have something to do with some of the other events that our party had been involved in, and we're just trying to follow up and on any leads, because we have some interested parties that want us to get to the bottom of what's going on. And so last video I went into, what our scout found, our assassin scout found, and then we went back and everything was normal and everything went to shit. And we were lucky to survive it and all that. And we get out of there by the skin of our teeth, and we decide to camp out in the outside of the town, because my character, my cleric, is afraid that if we go back to town, we're going to be the ones that are branded the troublemakers because of how everything went down. So that's where we left off. So starting up on our last Friday with our latest session, we sat and talked about it a little bit. Said, do we go back to town, and basically see if we're the ones that are being branded as the troublemakers, or are they actually believing our story? What do we do? So we all decide, no, let's just go to town and go straight to the teleporters. As you've been following along, you'll remember that to get around in this game world that we're in, everybody uses teleporters to get from town to town because it's just too dangerous out in the open world, outside of towns, and so forth. So there's a whole elaborate system of teleporters with a chit system that you use just like a bus token. You use it to use the teleporter, and there's mages at the station at all the different teleporters in all the towns, and that's how everybody gets around. So we decide we're going to go make a beeline straight for the teleporters, and we do. Boom, we go to a different town. And I don't remember why we picked the particular town we went to, but that isn't really meaningful, because we get there and our assassin friend decides to go to the local Assassins Guild, or the local satellite office of his guild, and talks about what he had found and all this. And when we were in camp, before we decided to go back and teleport, on his watch, our assassin, the rest of us, of course, are sleeping. It's his watch. He decides to go back to the scene of the crime, where we have that structure surrounded by all the tents and everything, where he had seen the demonic activity. And of course, when we returned with the other clerics and everything was normal. Well, he decides to go back on his watch. So he abandons, without our knowledge, his watch in our camp, and goes back and decides he's going to see if he can talk to the guy, the leader of this hippie cult thing. And the guy grants him an audience. He goes in, he starts talking to him, whatever. And because our assassin friend noticed that he has an amulet that is similar, almost identical to the one that we see this boss guy, this demon boss guy, wearing, with this shard of black glass, like in the center. And so our assassin friend decides he's just going to see if he can talk to him and find out what this is all about. And so he, of course, we don't know any of this. This is all out of character because we have no knowledge of it. But I'm telling you, this is for your benefit. He makes a deal with this guy, and I don't remember. It was for a weapon or something like that. I think he got a new dagger out of it. The assassin got a new dagger out of it or something like that. The bottom line is they negotiate, and he gives this boss guy his amulet. So now the boss guy's got two of them. And he traded it for a weapon. I think it was a dagger. Of course, none of us know this. He goes back to camp, continues his watch, acts like nothing happened. We get up, we head for those teleporters, we go to this other town. He goes straight to the Assassin's Guild. Our assassin goes straight to the Assassin's Guild and consults them with what has all transpired. And they, if I remember correctly, they refer him to a guy in town, like some historian dude or something like that. He goes and talks to him. And the bottom line is, this guy says, well, I think those might have something to do with an event that happened years ago where there was this fracture in the sky lit up, and all this weird stuff was happening, and you may want to try and find somebody that was around during that time that was involved in that. And he directs them to the Dwarven Kingdom that had been reclaimed during that period. Now, here's the funny part about it. Our campaign is being run in the same game world by the same DM as the campaign we ran 2 campaigns ago, and it was D&D 3.5. Same game world, same DM. So this is all a throwback. So the way the DM's doing it is, what he is referencing now, saying you got to talk to somebody that was there years ago, they're talking about the campaign that we ran back then. So my character back then, from the 3.5 campaign, was Grunt Furbelly, a dwarf, a dwarven barbarian. And when we got to the Dwarven Kingdom, it was abandoned, and this is all a flashback. It was abandoned, and of course my dwarven barbarian decides he's the only dwarf in the party. He's going to reclaim this Dwarven Kingdom, and he is going to pronounce himself king. Because what good upstanding dwarf wouldn't do that? I mean, isn't that what a dwarf would do? I mean, what dwarf is going to allow a glorious abandoned dwarven fortress to continue abandoned when there's a dwarf to inhabit it and basically start repopulating everything? So of course he tries to do that, and that's all. There's actually videos of it. If you look way back on my channel, you'll find it from the 3.5 campaign. And so now in this campaign, they're saying, "Oh, you got to talk to somebody that was around when that happened, where the sky was fractured and all that," because we think that this gold deity that you guys saw when the gnome was, quote, trying to capture the sun, and this deity came and killed him and all that, we think that's all related to this fracturing of the sky. And the only people we can think of that were around at that time is you need to go talk to the Dwarven Kingdom and find somebody there that was around. So now, of course, we decide, yes, we're going to go to the Dwarven Kingdom and see what we can do. And in this latest session, we take off for the Dwarven Kingdom, and we get attacked along the way. We get attacked by a big group of gnolls who we defeat. It was
According to Wikipedia, the narwhal, or narwhale, is a medium-sized toothed whale that possesses a large tusk from a protruding canine tooth.
Thanks, Google. I didn't ask anything about a narwhal, but I appreciate the random trivia question there, or answer. Sorry about that. Google just decided to just, give me a trivia question there or something. So, anyway, so we fight these gnolls, we win. We continue on, and then we encounter a will-o-wisp. Now, of course, none of us know what a will-o-wisp, our characters don't know what a will-o-wisp is. And we're all trying to fight this thing, and we can't hit it. We're just way too low level. It's way too powerful. We can't hit it. But my cleric knows that it's evil, casts protection from evil, thinking that's going to do it. We're going to be able to kill this thing now. We're protected, through the power of Alcerion and all that. We can't hit this thing. I think once or twice we luckily got a hit on it or something like that. But the bottom line is, it's wiping us out. Our thief in the group, we have a thief and an assassin. They both, of course, tuck their tails and scoot. They're gone. They leave us. So now it's me, our drunken ranger, our other ranger, fighting this thing, and none of us can hit it. So I use augury. My character uses augury to basically, and the way that spell works, if you don't know, is you're basically asking your deity for guidance on what to do. And I basically asked, do we stay and fight this thing, or do we run? And you have to preface it in, like, how is it going to benefit the party? Which action is going to benefit the party more? And the DM says, the answer is, you need to run. So we decide to scatter in 3 different directions, and we know we can't outrun it. So he rolls, the DM rolls randomly, and it decides to follow me, which is exactly what my cleric wanted, because my cleric was willing to give his life for the rest of the party to survive. And so that was perfect. Goes after, but our female ranger, she follows, trying to save me, and I'm running, and I happened to start going in the direction of the Dwarven Fortress, and we were close enough to where I reached the outskirts of it, and there's actually like Dwarven patrols there and everything, and I get hit and literally fall unconscious at their feet, and there's these dwarves there, and they kill the will-o-wisp, because they're obviously higher level and all that. But now I'm unconscious. The female ranger, she comes up and begs them to help me, and everything, and they agree. They're nice guys, and everything. They're nice dwarves and everything. And so she has a couple of spells at her level, and one of them is she has Cure Light Wounds, and she's able to cure me, I think, enough to get me conscious or something. And then they all agree to carry me up, and then I'm able to heal myself once I get up to like some safety. I heal myself up some more, once I'm conscious. And in the meanwhile, the rest of our party starts like yelling out for one another to see if they can find each other. And bottom line is, they end up finding, through shouting and everything, they end up finding each other. And they all, I'm eating my mustache. Yeah. That's a horrible thing. Yeah. Whenever that happens. So, they find us and get us up to the dwarves, and we start talking about, well, the assassin, who is the one who had the information about the fact that maybe they know something about what occurred and everything. And then it was time to stop, because it was already midnight or whatever. And where I live, the parking policy in our HOA is very strict, and if they're here too late, their cars will get towed. So we have to stop. We usually stop at midnight just to be safe. And that's where we stopped. We decided that we lucked out. We didn't lose anybody, and we can start right up this Friday there at the Dwarven Fortress and see if we can get some questions answered. Maybe about who this deity guy was that we saw, this gold guy or whatever, and then about these shards that were in these pendants or necklaces or whatever that this dickhead boss demonic guy has two of now, thanks to our assassin who just wanted a new weapon. But I mean, that's what an assassin would do, I guess. Anyway, so that's the campaign. That's where we're at. A couple of things I want to talk about real quick. Today, China really bitch slapped the hell out of Blizzard. And I wonder if Blizzard is, again, if you guys watch, like I have a day job, I'm gone all during the day at work, so I don't get to break this news. All the other YouTubers do, because they do this for a living. So you probably already heard that this news that China basically put on, not sanctions, that's not the right word, regulations, stating that underage people in China are going to be limited on how much time they can spend on online games and how much money they can spend on online games. So, that's got to be a tough pill for Blizzard to swallow, because they just stuck their necks out for their mother China with the whole Blitzchung thing, basically taking China's side in a human rights, free speech issue, and put the ban, it originally putting the 1 year ban hammer on Blitzchung, and then having to fall back and everything when they got so much pushback. But the bottom line is they still sided with China, and now China comes around the back and says, yeah, you were a good little puppy dog there, Blizzard, but we're not giving you any more table scraps. Matter of fact, you're just getting your regular kibble. You're not even getting any chew bone, not any rawhide chew bones. Now we're taking that too. So now Blizzard has managed to piss off their player base, piss off the U.S. Congress, because the U.S. Congress got involved, cause basically an international incident, and then all that happens, and then China still, what they did today is going to impact Blizzard enormously. Like, I think it's something like the underage kids, only under 16, they can only spend $30 a month on microtransactions in a game. Between 16 and 18 or something like that, they can spend $60. Where they probably, there were stories of them racking up their credit card, or their parents' credit cards or whatever by thousands of dollars or whatever with microtransactions. They're not going to be able to do that anymore. And the game companies did nothing to deter that. Even though they know that the parents had no idea about it, they still took the money. And then curtailing the amount of game time they can spend as well. It's going to hit Blizzard hard in the pocketbook. And I'm wondering if Blizzard's saying, gee, I guess we didn't need to go through all that public controversy and everything, because China doesn't have our back. And, well, we're all saying, well, duh, they're China. Did you think they would? So it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on that. I'm sure you've heard the news elsewhere, but I just wanted to give my opinion of it. I think it's hilarious that after all that Blizzard tried to do to lick the boots of the Chinese, they came around and bitch slapped them anyway. And they didn't necessarily do it to bitch slap Blizzard. They basically did it to control their people, to do more control of their people. And Blizzard just got bitch slapped as a side quest. So the last thing I wanted to do is my birthday is coming up, so I got myself a birthday gift, and there it is. I got myself the. I have never bought myself one of the big sets of Star Wars Legos, and I've gotten smaller ones. I got Yoda's hut over there that I did, and some smaller ones, but this one's 1,007 pieces, and I'm a huge Mandalorian fan, which is why the Mandalorian that's coming out for Disney Plus, I'm going to be all in on that. But I was always fascinated, and not from the Star Wars movies, because you only see in the movies, you saw Boba Fett and Jango Fett and all that as Mandalorians go. But if you remembered Star Wars Galaxies, you could play a bounty hunter in that, and there was the Mandalorian armor set was available in game, and you had to go to a dungeon to get it. And this was way before any elaborate tank, Trinity tank healer DPS crap. You just grabbed a group of guys and gals and said, we're going to, I can't remember the name of the damn, I can't believe I can't remember the name of the dungeon that you had to go to get the recipes, and then there was like a forge down that you had to use that forge to make the armor, and you had to be a master armor smith and all this. And I learned more about the Mandalorians from Star Wars Galaxies than I ever did any of the movies. Now, I never read any of the Star Wars books, so I'm assuming that people that have read the books are going to chime in and say, well, yeah, you got to read this book and that book and, and everything else. I never read any of the books, so that's probably where I'm deficient. But I always liked Slave One, the Boba Fett ship, which this is, obviously. And so I got a 4-day weekend coming up, and I'm going to be putting that sucker together. So that was kind of a birthday present to myself to do that. And I think that's going to do it for this particular video. If you guys got any comments, questions, whatever, put them down below. Click like, subscribe, whatever. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side.